Good morning. Would we all please stand for an invocation provided by Commissioner Barr, and then we will follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
We bow in attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be present this morning. Lord, guide us, direct us, and use us as we serve the citizens of Washington County, and that we would honor and please you in all that we do and say. This morning we have two prayer requests. Think of all the parents and staff, along with the young people that are involved with 4-H at our Ag Expo this week with the high temperatures. And Lord, we just pray for their safety and their well-being, for their learning experiences there at the Ag Expo. May your guiding hand be upon them, and Lord, we just have a good week at Ag Expo. We also
We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to, on the agenda item, Maryland Association of Counties visit, we're going to move down to that. That's scheduled for 10:10, so we are a few minutes late. So let's just go ahead, and attendees will be Michael Sanderson, Executive Director of MACO, and Jerry Walker, the MACO President. How are you?
Good,
So,
thank you.
You'll have to.
Kevin Canale, Policy Associate at MACO.
Thank you. Welcome to Washington County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, my name is Jerry Walker. I'm Anne Arundel County Councilman and Vice Chair of the County Council there, and of course, as you mentioned, President of MACO. Thank you so much for having us. It's nice to be here in person. You are one of the counties that I occasionally pop in on the Facebook live streaming, so it's kind of neat to be here actually in person. So thank you for hosting us. Today, we're on our Western Maryland swing tour through the 3 counties out this way. So you're the first stop this morning, and we appreciate the opportunity just to take a few minutes of your time in your meeting to share with you a little bit about what we've been up to and what we're doing. And while I have the mic, and before I turn it over to Michael and Kevin, just want to put a plug in for our summer conference that's coming up in August. We hope to see you there in attendance. We've got a lot of excitement and energy around the different topics and our theme of water. So there's lots of folks that are interested in coming to that, and we'll hope to see you there at that event. I also want to put a plug in too, since I've got the stars of the show on my right and my left. If you listen to podcasts at all, MACO has a podcast that kind of gives you on a weekly basis a snapshot of things that are going on in Annapolis. Most importantly during session, which is interesting because there's so many bills that are moving through the process, both at MACO and in the General Assembly, and issues that impact county governments. And so these two guys are the hosts of the show, and it's very informative. If you want to stay up to date on that, I know Commissioner Barr is down there and I'm sure is bringing things back to you, keeping you up to speed. But if you're bored driving down the road and you want to keep up to date yourself, tune into that podcast. It's kind of neat, and they do a great job. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael Sanderson at this time, and him and Kevin will go through a couple of issues that we're working on for you on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for a little time this morning. We've delivered a packet of stuff that's sort of our muscle memory to just show up with stacks of paper to every event. In consideration of your agenda and other things you've got to get through today, I think Kevin and I will be brief in talking about a few policy issues, some looking backward, and then I think Kevin will talk about a couple things looking more forward. But Annapolis issues affect local governments. A lot of things run downhill. Some of them is cash, some of them are responsibilities and so forth. So that relationship is important to what county governments want to do and to your priorities. So let me speak to a couple of things, mostly looking back on the legislative session we've just wrapped up back in April. On fiscal issues, I tend to start there because it sort of carries over on everything that you all do. This was and is an odd fiscal circumstance right now. Probably the strangest budget cycle I've ever seen in close to 30 years in Annapolis, specifically because of the federal government's tax reform. With that coming together in December and January, it throws a bit of a wrench into state budgets because there's a good deal of uncertainty about what taxpayers are going to do as a result of federal tax structure changes. So we anticipate a lot of people will probably no longer file itemized returns, and instead will take the much more generous federal standard deduction. That's one thing that is a logical outcome from the federal tax changes. Well, what that carries in Maryland and most other states that have a system like ours is your deductions you just carry over from the federal level down to the state level. There's no way to itemize deductions on your state form if you didn't on your federal form. We don't have auditors to take a look. Is that a legitimate business expense? Is that a real charity? That sort of thing. We just don't have that infrastructure. What that means is there may be a number of Maryland taxpayers who do better under the federal tax laws, but end up losing some of their deductibility on their state taxes. And if that's going to amount to some degree of windfall in income taxes, that's a big unknown. Historically, you've always been able to look at income taxes and just take a snapshot at real returns and figure if the laws were different, how would different tax rates apply and so forth. This is a big unknown. The state more or less punted on this for this year, didn't do a series of tax cuts to wipe out every dollar of a possible windfall, also didn't make commitments to spend or lock in long-term spending on those dollars. If it's going to show up, they've set aside some money for education commitments, which we believe are coming at the state level, but haven't really made a long-term structural plan there. We will see on the ballot this November, we will see a constitutional amendment to isolate money coming from casino revenues and make sure that goes in above and beyond current commitments for K through 12 education. That's one engine to fund education commitments, but it leaves sort of a hole in the boat in the state general fund. So there's nuts and bolts that are unusual. Frequently by June, we're sitting down talking about the state budget in past tense, even though the fiscal year hasn't started. Here, a good deal of uncertainty about where that lands. On the good news, we did end up making, on fiscal stuff, a good step forward on local road funding. As you know, I've been before you all year after year talking about highway user revenues. It's 8-9 years running that we've been on sort of a starvation diet for local roads funds. This is the share of state gas taxes and other transportation revenues that get sent back to county and municipal governments. They passed a bill and the governor signed it this year to effectively double the level of funds that come back to the counties and lock that in for the next 5 years. So the FY19 budget was pretty good. It's going to bump up a little bit better in the year 2020 and locked in formula for 5 straight years. That lets local public works have a more of a commitment, maybe do some more bonding. It's not a full restoration. This isn't a home run that we've been seeking. It's not even getting us to that point. But a lot of people in Annapolis put a lot of effort into making a step forward and making it last. So it's the best thing that's happened in multiple years on this front, and this is the biggest fiscal issue that sits between the state and local governments. Otherwise, on fiscal issues and in other places, a big part of what MACO does is not really sexy and it's not above the fold stuff, but playing defense on your behalf. We were concerned about a budget proposal that would have shifted 90% of the costs of the assessment offices to county governments. You'd just be getting an invoice, not any management or oversight, just pay the bill. We think that's a bad structure of government decision. We were able to fend that off. That's also about $20 million a year, which is meaningful money. We played some defense on some policy issues as well. One thing that probably could be its own 20 or 30-minute conversation is a proposal from the telecommunications industry about permitting and locating small cells for improved wireless service. 5th generation or 5G wireless is something that's coming over the next several years, and you may have heard about this. The big trend, particularly in compact areas, is get rid of the big tall towers that serve a couple miles in every direction and instead use smaller devices that serve just, a couple hundred yards in every direction, but you put a whole bunch of them around. So you put them on light poles, you put them on buildings and so forth. There are telecommunications companies that would like to, let's not have that be a local decision that's managed as a land use or as a zoning matter by city governments, by county governments. Let's have state legislation preempt the local governments and create a shot clock and standards and things like that. we are not wild about the state stepping in and stepping on your toes on what communities ought to look like. So we fended that off. That battle is not over by any stretch, but it's a matter of we want the technology, we want the better service, but we want our communities to look the way we've envisioned them locally through your zoning and so forth. Land use, as you all know, is a big part of local government. It's also a constant tension between the state having well-intentioned ideas, but the ones that step on your local autonomy. It's a big role that we play in trying to make sure that local input and local oversight really remains the order of the day in land use and so forth. So that's a really quick snapshot of some things from the legislative session. If there's other things you'd like to talk about, it'd be perfectly fine to springboard from there. Kevin Canale, my colleague who works on policy for Annapolis, is going to talk about a few things for MACO in Annapolis. We'll talk about a few things that we know are underway and are likely to have big impacts in the year or so ahead. Kevin.
Thank you. For the record, Kevin Canale with the Maryland Association of Counties. I'll talk about two, like Michael said, big picture items that are upcoming and already underway. So the Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education, also known as the Kirwan Commission, I'm sure you've been following this commission as it will affect local governments as well as the state government. This commission was originally set to make recommendations on changes to formulas and teacher requirements, teacher training, certification, etc. They were originally set to make their final recommendations in December of last year, although they needed more time, so they were granted an extension to December of this year. The commission did release a preliminary report. It turned into legislation. MACO supported that legislation as it called on the state to make a renewed commitment of state dollars to public education. That bill did pass, although now the commission has reconvened since the session has ended, and they've split into 4 working groups to cost out the preliminary recommendations that they've made. So they have an at-risk resources group, so that would be at-risk resources for at-risk students, excuse me. They have a career and college readiness pathways work group, an early childhood education work group, and then high-quality teachers and leaders. We haven't seen numbers coming out of the commission yet, but what we did see this week or last week was preliminary numbers for the cost of expanding pre-kindergarten for 3- and 4-year-olds at 300% federal poverty level. So these are 3- and 4-year-olds who are considered at-risk students because they are obviously living in poverty. The estimates, the initial estimates coming out to do that would be about $1 billion. Now, there's no consensus on how that money would be split up between state and county funding, and I think what MACO is most concerned with is that we don't want to see a winners and losers situation across the state. We want to make sure that all boats rise, and therefore all counties rise from the west to the east and central Maryland as well. I'm happy to answer any more questions about the Kirwan Commission. I know it's a hot topic, but for the sake of your time, I want to talk also about Next Generation 911. 911, as you know, is a local function. Next Generation 911 is coming. It's a federal mandate. And what this will do is greatly improve location accuracy for 911 callers, and it will also enable folks to be able to send multimedia such as videos, pictures, and text to a 911 call taker in an emergency situation. In anticipation of Next Generation 911, MACO had an initiative bill last year to create a commission to advance Next Generation 911 across Maryland. That legislation was successful, and we are currently awaiting appointments to be made to the commission so that they can begin their work. They do have a report due December of this year that will mainly focus on what is needed both in terms of operational costs and capital costs to transition to Next Gen 911, and also exactly trying to figure out how much it's going to cost. Since that commission has not yet been meeting and we're waiting the appointments, MACO has convened a group of PSAP directors as well as emergency managers to start tackling these issues so that we can be prepared once the commission does meet. So we want to be ahead of the game so that they can complete their report on time in 2018. The commission will continue through 2019, and they'll issue another report to the General Assembly in December of 2019 that will focus on more nuts and bolts and a little bit deeper dive on 911 and what's needed. But in general, we were successful with our initiative bill to get this commission rolling, and we look forward to them being seated very soon.
With that, we're at your pleasure if there's other topics or any of those things you'd like to talk further about, but principally, appreciate your time and attention, participation in our conferences and events, loaning a good deal of John Barr's time, all have helped to make Mako stronger on your behalf.
Thanks to each and every one of you for coming to Washington County, giving us a report. And any of the county commissioners have any comments or thoughts, questions?
Just a comment. Appreciate you traveling up here today and visiting Western Maryland. And I know firsthand, Jerry, what a task it is to converse all over the state. And hats off to you. It's very informative.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Have a safe trip and
Thank you very
great
much.
day. And you probably love heading out to Western Maryland, but I bet you hate going home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's easier coming uphill than down.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's move here to citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today care to participate? Okay, seeing none. We could do commissioner reports, comments. We can come back to them in the essence of time. Come back.
An announcement.
Okay.
On this Saturday, July 21st, 7 p.m., the Korean War veterans have asked me to make an announcement that there's a ceremony to invite all the commissioners and the public. So over there on Potomac Street, Saturday at 7 p.m., Korean War Veterans Monument.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
We'll come back to commissioner comments.
I don't have any.
Let's, okay, so, we'll do reports from county staff. We'll come back to that unless there's a staff member out here that has a report they need to report. Okay, so let's just move down to contraband budget transfer. Mr. Price, how are you, sir? Good morning. Still morning.
Good morning. Yes, sir. Still morning.
4 minutes.
I'm Sergeant Mark Price, and this is Sergeant Stuart Heckman with the Washington County Narcotics Task Force. And we come to you today with a request to transfer $161,830 from the contraband revenue into the contraband expenditures. This is money that were seized from local and multi-state investigations, and this money has already been through and been forfeited through either federal court or the circuit court. So it's all free and clear money.
Okay, any questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 5-0. 4-0, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You have it ready, son. Washington goes purple. Sheriff Mollendor, Councilwoman Emily Keller, and Vicki Sterling.
I'm the Lone Ranger.
I thought the sheriff was here. I did see him earlier. Oh, okay.
Nice purple lights.
Yeah.
Looks nice in here. That's a nice purple dress, Krista. Good afternoon or good morning. Thanks for having us back. I'm Emily Keller here to talk to you guys about Washington Goes Purple. Hopefully you've been seeing some purple information out in public. We've been trying to do as much marketing as possible. But Washington Goes Purple, it's a substance abuse awareness campaign that's geared toward our children, toward talking to middle and high school kids about the dangers of prescription painkillers. It is modeled after Talbot Goes Purple, and their sheriff said he kind of had a light bulb moment when he was talking to parents and he realized, you know, here we talk to our kids about cigarettes and alcohol and other substances, and we know that the nation is struggling with the heroin epidemic, but we aren't really talking to our kids about the dangers of prescription painkillers. So that is what Washington Goes Purple is. We do have the support of Washington County Public Schools, and we have several events coming up. September is Recovery Month, and purple is the color of recovery. So there are two parts of Washington Goes Purple. One is the education piece, which of course is the most important, the community events, the being in schools, the talking to our children. And then the second is the Going Purple event. So for the entire month of September, we're asking businesses, government agencies, our schools to light up purple. We have purple shirts that every teacher in Washington County will get so they can do Purple Fridays. We have a lot of different entities, like the mall is going to have some purple events. The Hagerstown Suns are having a purple night. And the point of that is to just show community unity, that we are all in this together and that we're all facing that same battle and that we recognize it and we're working hard on moving forward and getting past this. So we're here today to ask for the county's participation in Washington Goes Purple. We would love to see this building lit up purple, the courthouses, any of the other buildings that you own. If you guys would like to have purple shirts as well, maybe the county can do Purple Fridays. The city is going to do that as also. And we also are asking for $2,400 for an advertising campaign on the county commuter buses that will run for 3 months throughout the Washington Goes Purple campaign.
Okay, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
This Washington County Purple Campaign. I know I really appreciate it, and all of the county commissioners, all of Washington County appreciate it. So we just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions, comments, county commissioners?
Thanks for your enthusiasm and energy with this. I know it's certainly personal to you, and you've been at the forefront more than anyone in the county on this topic. I think $2,400 is a small contribution on the county's part, and I'd make a motion to approve our cost in the campaign.
Would that be purple cash?
We can do it all in $5 bills.
There you go.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you. And just one more thing, we're having a kickoff event August 31st at City Park. We'd like to invite you guys. We are having several events, but that is the major kickoff event, August 31st at 7 p.m. in City Park. We would love to have you guys there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bid award PUR 1382, at least 2 new transit vehicles. Brandy Noggle and Kevin Cerrone. How are you two today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good morning, Brandy Noggle, buyer in the purchasing department.
Kevin Cerrone, Director, Washington County Transit.
Welcome.
The first recommendation I have for you this morning is for the bid award of PUR 1382, the leasing of 2 new transit vehicles. The recommendation is to move to award the bid on option A to lease 2 new latest production model gasoline engine transit vehicles for the jobs program to the lowest responsive bidder of Hagerstown Ford out of Hagerstown, Maryland. The low bid was for $26,077 per year. A total annual lease cost for the 3-year period was $78,231. This is contingent upon the approval of the county attorney for the lease agreement. The department has leased these vehicles through the jobs program since 2001, with Washington County Department of Social Services providing the funding. The proposed lease includes a 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty and 5-year powertrain. The invitation to bid was listed on the eMaryland Marketplace website, the local newspaper, and the county's website as well. 16 companies downloaded the document. We received 3 bids. Funding for the first year will be paid out of their the county transit operating budget to be reimbursed by Department of Social Services.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Motion to approve the recommended motion. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bid award PUR 1387, Recycling Drop-Off Center Services. Ms. Noggle and Mr. Mason. How are you today?
The second recommendation this morning is for the bid award 1387 for Recycling Drop-Off Center Services. We move to extend the current contract until September 1st of 2018 to give the new vendor the 6 weeks required time that they asked for to put their equipment in. The second recommendation on this is to recommend the award of the recycling drop-off services to the lowest responsive bidder of Apple Valley of Maryland out of Kearneysville, West Virginia, for the dual stream in the amount of $103,200 for the drop-off center services and corrugated cardboard containers in the amount of $10,400. Total sum of this bid is for $113,600 for the first year of the contract. On June 13th, we did receive bids on this contract. We received 6 companies downloaded the document, and we only received 1 bid on this. The contract is for a period of 1 year with 2 additional 1-year terms. Funds have been budgeted in the FY19 budget for this department.
Okay, on your budget in the amount of, on the fiscal impact, it says $74,400. And the bids come in at $103,000.
Yes, it's not uncommon for that to happen. Usually when we put out an RFP, we try to put the RFP out with a little bit of fluff in it, you know, a worst case scenario. So, yeah, in the past few years, well, with recycling, been kind of hit or miss as far as making budget or being slightly over. But usually we're right around our budget number for these type of services. So.
Okay, any other questions, comments, county commissioners?
Motion to approve.
Need a second? Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. The last recommendation this morning is for the bid award of PUR 1388 for contract services at the transfer stations and on-site at 40 West Landfill. We move to award the contract for services at the transfer stations and on-site at the 40 West Landfill to the responsive low bidder of Apple Valley Waste of Maryland out of Kearneysville, West Virginia, based on their total lump sum bid for locations 1 through 5 for $312,550, plus the alternative for the cardboard and transport to 40 West, and with the additional cost of $6,000, bringing this total to $318,550. The county did accept bids on June 13th. They were advertised on the Maryland Marketplace website, county website, and in the local newspaper. 13 companies downloaded the document. 2 bids were received. The contract is for a period of 1 year with 2 additional consecutive 1-year terms, and funds were budgeted in various departments of this county's FY19 budget.
Any questions, comments, commissioners? If none, motion to approve the recommendation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Personal property tax write-off process. Ms. Greaves, Mr. Hershey, how are you two today?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. How's Mr. Hershey?
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Attached to the ARF, you have 2 attachments, a resolution delegating authority, and you also have an authorization to write off uncollectible taxes form in front of you. This is really a housekeeping matter regarding the personal property tax write-off process. In accordance with Tax Property Article Title 4-401 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, the county is authorized to write off personal property taxes when certain conditions exist. It is a requirement that the tax collector, the collector's attorney, and an authorized official of the local governing body sign off on the form. Request is being made today that the Commissioners grant authority to the CFO to sign on behalf of the local governing body. The county treasurer goes to great lengths to pursue collection of unpaid taxes. This is personal property taxes only that I'm discussing. This includes sending monthly invoices, attaching past due amount to the tax bill for tax sale when available, and filing with the court system. Once the treasurer has exhausted all reasonable collection efforts, it may be necessary in some cases to write off accounts that are uncollectible. The treasurer, along with his counsel, determine which accounts are uncollectible. The listing is then sent to the CFO for review. Through this process, I may request further information on certain accounts. Once satisfaction is obtained, I would sign the form authorizing the treasurer to write off the account. And for your review, you have the form in front of you. You can see the first signature line says authorized official of local governing body. And we're here today to request approval for myself or the CFO to sign for that authorized official.
Okay, any questions, comments, commissioners? If none, we'll need an approval for the recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fabricated Extrusion Company of Maryland, Ms. Small.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Today I'm here for approval of the resolution for endorsement of the state of Maryland's $166,667,000 MEDAF loan to provide a county $50,000 conditional loan. The State of Maryland Department of Commerce, under the Maryland Economic Development Assistance Authority, or the MEDAF, has agreed to conditionally loan Fabricated Extrusion Company of Maryland, or an entity acceptable to the department, the company, to the amount of $166,667 from the MEDAF. The MEDAF loan proceeds will be used by the company to establish its headquarters and manufacturing operations at 1455 Oakmont Drive, here in the county. Anticipated total project costs associated with the project at the project site will be $5 million. We further understand that the company will hire 50 full-time and permanent employees at the project site by December 31st, 2022. In accordance with the Maryland Code Economic Development article, the county is required to endorse the making of the MEDAF loan for the project and approve the required local match. To complement the state of Maryland's offer of assistance, the county will contribute $50,000 toward the project in the form of this conditional loan. The incentive will have an impact on the hotel motel tax fund, and the resolution has been attached.
Okay, any questions, comments from the commissioners?
Motion to approve.
Motion and second for the approval of the recommendation. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Senior Citizen Activities Centers Capital Improvement Grants Program, approval to submit application, accept awarded funding. Ms. Wilson and Ms. Olak, how are you two today?
Hello, I'm Tina Wilson, Senior Grant Manager for the Office of Grant Management, and I have with me Amy Olak, who's Executive Director of the Washington County Commission on Aging. We also have Scott Hobbs. He's passing out, I believe, a map, and he is with Washington County Engineering. And we also have John Van Rippen from the County Engineering Department as well. I'd like to move to approve the submission of the application for Senior Citizens Activity Center Capital Improvement Grants Program, requesting $100,000 and accept funding as awarded by the agency. The Washington County Office of Grant Management is requesting approval to submit an application on behalf of the Washington County Commission on Aging to the Maryland Department of Aging, requesting $100,000 to renovate the small building located on the existing Senior Center campus. This renovation will allow the Commission on Aging to utilize the space as a fitness room and opportunity to educate and encourage older adults to remain healthy and fit. There will be a modest fee charged to members in an effort to offset operational costs. The engineer's cost estimate for the proposed improvements is $200,000. The Department of Aging requires applications to only be submitted by local governments. Therefore, the county will be the grant applicant and then enter into a subrecipient agreement with the Washington County Commission on Aging to implement the grant program. Any grant awarded funds will be received and dispersed through the county's Budget and Finance Office, and the Office of Grant Management will ensure all required fiscal and programmatic reports are submitted in an accurate and timely manner. The Senior Center Activity Center Capital Improvement Grant Program requires at least a 50% local match for any projects submitted. The Board of County Commissioners approved $90,000 of fiscal year 20 funding for the project on June 19th, 2018, which will be combined with $10,000 of funds raised by the Commission on Aging to meet the matching fund requirements. In addition to matching funds, the proposed renovations may increase insurance and utility costs associated with the senior center's operations. The county will also be required to sign an assurance of compliance with laws prohibiting discrimination and assurance of compliance with Department of Aging policies, which are provided as attachments to this report that we submitted. These requirements will be included in the subrecipient agreement between the county and the Commission on Aging. If the grant is awarded, $90,000 of the fiscal year 20 county funds will be utilized as a match for the grant-funded project. In addition, the county's insurance costs for the building may increase. I did do some research on that as well. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, commissioners? Have you started raising the $10,000 yet?
No, we'll start that in October once we submit the application.
Okay, we don't have any other questions. We'll need a motion to support the recommended motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, 5-0. Thank you, and
Thank
good
you
luck,
very
and
much.
have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, JG Business International request for responses. Sterling?
Excuse me.
I missed one? Hold up, Mr. Sterling. Oh, I marked it out. Adoption of County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Sorry, Mr. Brown.
He started to get up.
Marked it out too soon. How are you today?
Okay, how are you?
Good.
Tom Brown, Washington County Emergency Management.
Thank you.
I'd like to move to adopt the 2018 updated Washington County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Beginning in September of 2017, Washington County Division of Emergency Services, along with other county departments and local municipality representatives, began working to update the County Hazard Mitigation Plan. It is required to occur every 5 years. Once the updates are completed, a public meeting was held to allow the public a chance to express their thoughts on the updated plan, and any required changes were made at that time. The plan has since been sent to the Maryland Emergency Management Agency and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, with both agencies approving the update. The next step in the process is adoption at the local level. We are starting that adoption process with Washington County first. Washington County does recognize the threat that the natural and technological hazards pose to people and property, and then an adopted multi-hazard mitigation plan is required as a condition of future funding for hazard mitigation projects. Washington County also recognized that undertaking mitigation projects during pre-disaster periods could decrease the total losses the county incurs as a result of the disasters, and this project was undertaken in an effort to further identify, define, and characterize the hazards affecting Washington County, as well as to continue identifying and prioritizing projects that could lessen hazard vulnerabilities. This will allow Washington County future funding opportunities for hazard mitigation projects, which without an adopted plan would require it to come out of the budget. It's my understanding that if approved, Mr. Martirano, I think, has a resolution to be signed. So, thank you.
Okay, any questions, comments, county commissioners? If none, I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll take care of this right now. Okay, JG Business at Link International request for responses. Mr. Sterling?
Good afternoon. Pull this out again.
Is he waiting? Oh, go ahead, Tom. Welcome, Mr. Sterling.
Thank you, sir. Report and brief. JGBLI have requested that the board provide a response to the following items. 1, the Jonghoon Clover Corporation lease, a modification, feedback, or counter proposal to the lease proposed. 2, a retraction regarding the open bid process of the Cascade Town Center. They have stated their investors are looking for a public resolution regarding this issue. And 3, participation in the GICC. A decision needed to be made by last Friday, or they will need to find other representatives to attend. Regarding the lease, potential resolutions include execution as proposed, execution with modifications provided herein, counteroffer of sale, counteroffer of land exchange, or further negotiation. Regarding retraction open bid process, potential solutions include retraction, execution of RFP included herein, or further negotiation. Regarding participation in GICC, no attendance has been scheduled to date. Each of the above various physical implications, which are largely not subject to immediate quantification.
Okay, we'll start with the first one. Okay, on the Clover Corporation lease.
Yeah, I assume you all have the packet still, the lease that they presented previously. Excuse me, I'm trying to find it. Was a $0 lease for 5 years, renewable at $1 per square foot, $2 million investment, and possibility of ownership after bringing on 50 employees and making that $2 investment after 2 years.
Hey, commissioners, need a little bit of direction here on the lease, thoughts, what we're going to be interested in offering from the county commissioners. You know, if we have anything we want to discuss on that. Okay, let's go to the second one. We'll come back to the first.
Okay, retraction regarding open bid process.
As far as that goes, Board and JG, who is here, thank you for being here today. I'd like to make a statement of clarification regarding the RFP, which is that Washington County staff and with the board's consent will proceed in coordination with JGBLI in accordance with the Master Developer Agreement dated November 15 of 2016. So we look forward to continued participation among both parties equally in accordance to that agreement.
So that means that basically what we were doing was expressing our thoughts the other week. There was really no intent to go around, and we're going to work as partners with the contract based under the master agreement. Is that what we're?
That is correct. And the master developer agreement does afford the owner the ability to look at options. Those options should be shared. However, this is a public body, public board, and discussions sometimes have to happen with the board. I don't believe there was any intent to circumnavigate the JGBLI or the master developer agreement in that discussion.
Okay, my other question then, with that being said, do we need a motion to verify that, or just go by the statement that Mr. Slocum said? It solidifies we're going to follow the master agreement.
Oh, I think that's more than sufficient. I mean, the county didn't take any official action. There was just discussions about that, and I think JGBLI, and I won't speak for them, but I think they were looking for some clarification as to what the board was doing. And I think, as Mr. Slocum said, it's the county's intention to continue to work with JGBLI, within and in accordance with the terms of the master development agreement. So
That's good. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slocum. Okay, and the third thing, participation in the Global Infrastructure Cooperation Conference, also known as the GICC. Decision needs to be made by this Friday, or they will need to find other representatives to attend. So this is on the participation. I think they found some participation.
Yes, they have.
Okay, anything the commissioners need to add to that? Anything? Okay, let's go back to number one. Commissioners have anything to add to the Clover Corporation lease? Direction, thoughts, how we want to proceed?
Presentation.
There's a,
I'm just seeing if the commissioners have.
that's what was provided last week, Commissioner Barr.
Ready to move, discuss anything on the lease agreement. Opportunity to discuss some things. Correct. Yes, when we talk about the lease, it's the commissary lease.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, when's the deadline on this lease? Is there a deadline or anything like that there? There's a specified deadline that we have to get back to them?
I think they've expressed that the timeliness is important, as in any business matter, to get back. There is also a matter of, I think, Jim and JG behind you, this relates to raisin tree growing and
Correct.
planting. From the timeframes given previously, I think those windows for this season may have passed.
Very close to closing.
Okay, commissioners have anything to add? Okay, if nothing's to add, we'll have some discussion with our staff and get back to you and let you move forward with what the commissioner's request will be later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's take a couple of minute recess and then we'll come back with okay, let's go back up to commissioners' reports and comments. We did start with Commissioner Klein. He gave us a comment on the Korean War Memorial. You have anything else to add to your comments?
Just a great group of guys, elderly. If we can be there, show respect and support that monument, please be there. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I've missed one, so I'm going to have to be there. Okay, Commissioner Kiefer?
Yeah, two things. One, I was kind of hoping that maybe going forward, we might be able to change our agenda and make it flow a little better so we have closed session maybe at the end. I know today we started about an hour and 45 minutes late. We certainly have county staff members that probably have important jobs. I think they have important jobs to do. guest, if a citizen comes in and wants to talk to us about something, if we could, we have important things to talk about in closed session, but maybe that should be towards the end. I don't mind coming in earlier. That's certainly fine with me, but.
That may be the best solution, is to start earlier, because some of the what we've tried to do as staff is take the close so we can move forward in that same week rather than wait another week after. So perhaps we can look at moving it even further forward to start earlier.
My suggestion, if we do that, and that's fine, by the way, that if we would come back and open, it would have to only be minor things that we would talk about, an appointment or something, instead of something major coming back out that's not on the agenda. Be my only.
Or do a combination.
Yeah.
What we have to do to.
Yeah, that's right. We've done both. Thank you.
Okay. The other thing I'd like to bring up is, you know, for the last year and more recently in these last few weeks and months leading up to the election, I guess as people had a renewed sense in county government and what government does and was up to, I get a lot of questions asking about those reports being released, more information. I get a lot of feedback from citizens that they feel that their tax dollars paid for something with that report, and they're absolutely right. I don't know how to respond to them, to be quite honest. They feel it's their information. I'm inclined to believe with them to a degree, and I don't believe in, you know, I believe in doing it the right way if we're going to release something. So I'd like to see what the thought is about having some more information released. It's a question that I got quite a bit. I'm sure everyone up here probably has too.
What's more information?
Well, whatever this body would agree to. We could, I threw out a couple possibilities the last time I brought this up. Releasing the report, redact names, summarize something. There's an interest in how our county government operates, and that are we on the up and up? And I think the report details how certain conclusions were made. And that's what people have a question about.
So you'd be interested in releasing the report, redacting names, or?
Yeah, I think that would be a great.
How do you redact names when only 7 people went to Korea about associating their testimony to the person? That's my only question to you. You know, if you want, I'll sit here and listen. If you want to give your report right now, Korea, to the public, I would listen to you.
Well, I think there was more testimony than just from 7 people.
Well, if you want to go ahead and speak yours right now, I'll wait and listen.
Okay, but if you want to put something in the form of a motion, we can put a motion on the floor.
I'd like to hear our attorneys.
You don't have the floor, sir. He has the floor right now. It's just commissioner comment time.
I didn't know we had those rules when we were having a conversation.
Well,
I would make a motion that we release the report and we redact the names for the public consumption. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, that's a motion. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Need a second? Okay, we have a motion, a second. Now, do we have any further discussion?
Can staff?
This is probably among the commissioners. So we have a motion and a second, and we're looking for some discussion among the commissioners. Okay, motion and second. No further discussion?
I know you say it's between the commissioners, and I'll just say that that's against my recommendation. It's a confidential report. It has a lot of confidential information in it. I understand what you're all saying. As a county attorney, my recommendation will be not to release that information.
And couldn't an executive summary be released of the report?
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Okay, and now we're in the discussion, correct?
Couldn't an executive summary be released that wouldn't include the names, just the summary of what?
I don't think he said he was including names.
Yeah, but I'm just having discussion. But when you redact 7 names from the trip to Korea, you're going to match up who they are. There's no doubt you're revealing the names. That's not fair to those people who came in with confidentiality. Basically, the county's committing fraud on those people. Release a summary of the report of the findings of the attorney, maybe, but not the people who came in with the promise.
This board has already released a general summary of the report last year.
You release those names, not one employee ever in the future of Washington County will ever come forward to reveal a alleged wrongdoing of someone in this county if they think that their testimony and name is going to be revealed. That's the higher calling we have here. If you want to release a summary or re-release a summary of all the reports that doesn't reveal names and stuff and the conclusions that are by, you could get me to support that. And I think I've already said that in a newspaper article.
I think employees already have that feel when another document was leaked with information in it already. So that's something that's kind of a bridge that we've already passed.
That document was a public document released, and I was found not in violation, by the way, of that. So speak directly instead of around corners to me, sir.
Well, I just feel that I think it should be released, and my motion stands. If it's not supported by the board, it's not supported.
Okay, so we have a
And
motion.
this is probably the second or third time you've submitted this to the commissioners. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And I'll be an aye, yes. So we'll be releasing the reports based on his motion. It'll be 3-2. Okay, reports from county staff. We have any staff here today?
Hold up a sec. Can you give clear direction on releasing the report with the names redacted? Is that the direction so staff can proceed? And
That was my recommended motion.
okay, we're going to require some independent party who's outside. It may be legal or something, unless John's office can do it. I think this gets staff too close to an issue.
So we're going to have to, well, we're going to have to.
I think it's all confidential. I think it's all confidential.
Well, okay.
So, but I agree with you.
You-
If you so if you're going to just redact the names,
It's going to have to be done by someone independent, perhaps. Okay. So I think this is a legal matter that John's office may take the lead on. I will be glad to support you, John, in
we can take the lead.
executing the
My opinion,
board's.
and I've shared this for you, and I understand it's the board's decision.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to do anything related to those documents as an attorney based on my recommendations. So, obviously staff will do what the commissioners have instructed us to do.
Thank you.
Who will we contact to do that, John? Who?
I have not given it any thought. I'll have to give it some thought, and we can talk amongst the staff. I did not know this was coming up today, and I would never.
I did not either, so,
Okay, reports from county staff. We have any staff here today care to provide a report in the chambers? Okay, let's
I
go.
do have one item.
Well, okay, now I'll usually get to you later. That's all right. Mr. Hovis?
I'd like to, I can defer to Mr.
Well, then,
Slocum,
there
then
we
come
go.
back
Wish
to
I
me.
should've
It's
left.
sort of chronological order, way we need to do this.
Okay. Mr. Slocum?
Yes, I'd like to share with the board and the public that Ms. Payton, who's here now, has served 18 years with Washington County in the various roles and is currently the Deputy Director of Health and Human Services, and to unanimous vote of the board has been approved to be the next Director of Health and Human Services. So I don't like to ramble on, but Deb's efforts warrant rambling for just a very quick moment, if you'll oblige. I know Deb has worked tirelessly in her current position, and even before that, her position would become effective August 1st after Ms. Stone, who's currently our director, who has done quite a bit of work for the county in leading that department and working very closely with Deb in the past, vacates the position of her announced retirement. And again, 18 years. Since 2003, Deb has been in human resources. So I think we will go ahead and have a larger celebration when she's actually seated in the position August 1st, but I appreciate this.
We can have a dual going away and welcome aboard party. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic. Yes. I received unsolicited letters of commendation from other staff, former staff, retired staff, commissioners, and so forth on her position. And I can say that she presented a binder of material that exhibited how interested and how logical her thoughts were behind the behind this position. So, thank you very much.
Congratulations, and you will do a wonderful job. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other staff reports? Yes, sir. Now, Mr. Hovis, sorry.
President Baker, with that recent announcement of the county administrator, I would like to ask permission to advertise for the Deputy Director of Human Resources at a grade 16, step 1, which is $64,397 per year, and the vacancy exists due to the recent promotion of Debbie Payton to Director.
Okay, need a motion to support that request.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 5-0. Any other reports from staff? County attorney issues? Boards and commissions? And do the commissioners want to go back into closed session to discuss JGBLI further today? Okay, so we will continue our meeting with our